Alright, hello Guild Wars 2 gamers, Mukluk here. I did not think we would be doing a news video for the game today, but here we are. It is Tuesday, July 8th, and I predicted recently that we would have another class teaser, our Elite Spec teaser, every day this week except Tuesday, because that's what they did last week, with the exception of the 4th of July holiday. However, they released a blog post today with one hell of a teaser at the end of it. I'm more excited to tell you about the teaser at the end of it than I am the blog post itself, but we're going to go through the whole thing. So here it is, and as always, the link will be in the description down below if you just want to read it yourself. So, from the beginning, from the wilds to what's next by the Guild Wars 2 team on July 8th, 2025. Hey Guild Wars community! With the final content update for Guild Wars 2 Janthir Wilds now live, we've officially wrapped up our 5th expansion, which is the second built under the annual release model that we introduced in early 2023. Guild Wars 2 Janthir Wilds tested how we tell stories, evolve systems, and deliver meaningful updates on a faster, more consistent schedule. Some things landed well, others not so much. Just like we did after Guild Wars 2 Secrets of the Obscure, and that's presumably a link to it, we've been listening to your feedback and acting on it. In this blog, we'll share how those lessons are shaping our next expansion and the changes that you can expect to see. This will give you helpful context as we unveil our next expansion next week. Oh boy! Now, I'll remind everybody that the previous 2 years, the expansions came out, I believe, in August, because it was right around my birthday. Then they said this year they needed more time, which, personally, anytime a game dev says they need more time, I'm like, okay. You know, unless I've like prepaid and there was like a major expectation or something. We're usually like, okay, I would rather wait for a better product than have a day one that's just, you know, on fire. So they said they needed more time. So this next expansion wasn't going to be August. It was looking at October. So that was something that they said. And then, so I guess it's getting unveiled next week. So, charting Guild Wars 2 Janthir Wilds legacy. Over the past 9 months, Janthir Wilds brought a wide range of new experiences to Tyria. Across 19 story chapters and 4 new open-world maps, the narrative explored the aftermath of the Elder Dragon era through a more grounded and political lens. Your choices helped shape the balance of power in a world learning to live without that existential threat and uncovered ancient secrets best left buried. We brought spears to land combat, our first new terrestrial weapon type since the game's launch, along with a new set of relics that deepened build crafting and expanded playstyle customization. Our endgame offerings grew as well. You took on the game's first new raid in over 5 years, complete with challenge and legendary modes. We also introduced a new convergence encounter and a fractal dungeon with its own challenge mode, adding more variety and goals for PvE-focused players. And then there's a picture of the homestead here. Def Lahar, fishing, I guess. Let's see. Guild Wars 2 Janthir Wilds also marked the arrival of homesteads, a major feature that brought player housing to the game. Actually, you know what? I'm looking at the background here. This is not the homestead. This is a different location. Ignore me. That was paired with a rework of the decoration system, updates to the Warclaw mount, 2 new legendaries, tons of new armor and weapon sets, Wizard's Vault refreshes, and a long list of quality of life upgrades. Casually skips over the pic before the homestead. Well, we've seen this one before. This picture, I'm pretty sure, is on the shop page for buying Janthir Wilds and has been there for 9 months. But yes, cute picture. In PvP, we built something new with your help. The Pish game mode began as a prototype and evolved through multiple public betas, shaped directly by player feedback. Co-developing a competitive mode in a live environment is rare, and we're proud of what it represents. The final version launches later this summer, and we hope it sets a precedent for future community-driven efforts. For one, I've mentioned this in past videos, I really enjoy Pish. I enjoy playing support builds often, and Push is a game mode that draws all the players on the map to one location, which means constant team fighting, which means people like myself that enjoy a team fight type of gameplay get to experience that more often. Whereas if you're on Conquest, they're more sporadic because, you know, people might be spread all over the map. So I really liked it. So I'm happy to see that happen, and I'm looking forward to it coming out so I can play it some more. Guild Wars 2 Janthir Wilds delivered a lot in a short amount of time. The momentum was only possible because of your passion, creativity, and honest feedback. Finding the right rhythm. Guild Wars 2 Janthir Wilds launched in August of last year, followed by 3 quarterly updates. After the first of those updates arrived November 2024, we heard consistent feedback from the community. The additional story content felt too short. The lack of new open world map made the update feel noticeably light. Similar reactions to story scope followed the second and third releases, signaling that the pacing and structure of these releases could better align with your expectations. All right, so let's pause here for a second here. Obviously, I'm a Guild Wars 2 content creator. I love Guild Wars 2 as a game. It's not perfect. Even in my eyes, it's not perfect. It is the closest to perfection of any MMO on the market that I have tried for me. Love it to bits. Even I'll say that I found the, like, if I was grading Soto and Janthir Wilds on features, right? Like the raids, the strikes, the new stuff for builds, like spears, expanded weapon proficiencies, weapon master specializations, homesteads, all that stuff. If I'm just like, I'm doing a 1 to 10, I'm grading everything 1 to 10, story in both Soto and Janthir would be the lowest for me. Like, I totally say that they're worth the purchase, and I love all the features that they brought to the game, but the story, for me, was the most disappointing part of them. Let's keep reading. For our next expansion, we're refining that structure to give each update more depth and impact. The first quarterly release after the expansion's launch will not include new story or map content. Instead, it will focus on updates to core systems and long-standing features. Oh my god, they're going to fix the Zaitan fight. For legal reasons, that was a joke. This approach gives us the space to revisit foundational elements of the game, improvements that support the long-term health of Guild Wars 2, and reflect the design philosophy outlined in the Build Smarter, Not Bigger section below. And then there's a picture of, you barely even see him, there's a little dude right here. All right. By focusing on story and map development in the second and third quarterly updates, we're able to make those releases more robust and satisfying. Each will produce a larger, more content-rich map and longer, more fully developed story than what players saw in the equivalent Guild Wars 2 Janthir Wilds updates. While the total amount of story content across the expansion is increasing modestly, the bigger benefit is how much more meaningful each individual release will feel, along with the scope improvements to the open world maps. This approach allows for more complete and satisfying story arcs, and it results in a net increase in total content delivered over the course of the expansion. Okay. All right. So, TLDR. When Janthir came out, at the 3-month marker, 6-month marker, and 9-month marker, there was a bunch of new content. But a lot of us, self-included, felt that some of that content was pretty shallow. For me, it was the story. For some of you, it might have been a different feature. And so they're saying, okay, we're going to try something different on the next one. On the next one, at the 3-month update, we're not going to be doing like story and map stuff. We're going to keep cooking and hopefully have something that you really, really like at the 6-month update. And then the 3-month update will instead have just a big sweeping amount of quality of life stuff. And I'm okay with that. The way that I look at it is, okay, I tried what they were doing before, which was they're trying to churn something out every 3 months. We just tried that twice, and I wasn't satisfied with it. So I'm happy to let them try this, let them cook, and see what happens. That's my view on it. All right, building smarter, not bigger. One of our biggest priorities right now, and likely for years to come, is untangling years of accumulated system complexity. This means streamlining overlapping features, reducing technical debt, and reinforcing what makes Guild Wars 2 shine. This complexity doesn't just slow us down behind the scenes, it also makes onboarding harder for new and returning players, even in areas designed for seasoned adventurers like Endgame PvE. Over the past 2 expansions, we've shifted away from stacking new systems on top of old ones. Instead, we're focusing on sustainable upgrades to the game's foundation. Features like the Wizard's Vault didn't just offer something new. They've replaced daily achievements and login rewards with a streamlined modern alternative. Weapon Master training and relics were built to expand existing build systems. Homesteads and the decoration system overhaul also improved guild halls. We've also updated core mount systems during both expansions, with refinements to the Sky Scale in Guild Wars 2 Soto and improvements to the Warclaw in Janthir Wilds. Each change was designed to strengthen features that you already use and love. And house. Support for newly introduced features doesn't end at launch. Since Homestead's feature debuted, we've continued to expand and refine the system with new decorations and quality of life improvements, including an increase to the overall decoration cap in the final Guild Wars 2 Janthir Wilds Absolution. Yeah, dude, the decoration cap is so funny. Like, I understand the need for a decoration cap, right? Every item that every player parks somewhere, they have to save it on their server somewhere. But it was so funny, like, some people were like, the decoration cap is too small. It's only 1,000. I've already used it up. And I'm like, how much did you build? And they're just like, I just finished my kitchen. What? You placed 1,000 items in the kitchen? And they're like, it's a very detailed kitchen. I'm like, oh boy, like, I'm gonna lag in your homestead. All right. In our upcoming July 15th release, we're doubling the decoration limit from 200 to 400. This directly addresses one of the most common requests we've heard from you. You can also expect to see continued support from the Homesteads feature in our next expansion as we build on the foundation. These kinds of changes may not always grab headlines, but they make the game easier to understand, easier to maintain, and more enjoyable to play. Just as importantly, they reflect what many of you have asked us to do, focus less on introducing entirely new systems, and more on refining and modernizing what we already have. That's a direction we believe in, and one we're proud to continue as we build the next chapter of Guild Wars 2. All right, I like the sound of it. New tricks for every trade. Over the past 2 expansions, we've expanded options for combat by giving you more tools to customize builds and play your way. I'm going to say right here, this, I think, okay, I mentioned already that the story was in my eyes, the weakest part of the last 2 expansions, all right? Still enjoyed both expansions, no regrets in all the time I spent in them, but that was, in my eyes, the weakest part. I think one of my favorite parts of them was this. The expanded weapon proficiencies, the weapon master training, and the spears. Almost every single build on all my characters that I'm actively playing is using one of those features every minute of every playtime that I sit down, right? When I play Ranger, I'm using, if I'm playing Druid and supporting my group, I've got my mace in my main hand from the expanded weapon proficiencies, right? If I'm playing Heal Untamed, I'm using the Druid staff in my hand from the weapon master training, right? If I'm playing Khan the Engineer, I might have Spear from Janthir. Like, those features affect every minute of my in-combat playtime these days, and I love them to bits. Those are the things that whenever a new expansion's coming out, those are the things I look forward to the most, is those, raids are great. I'll do them a bit. I'll get burned out. I won't go back for months. Then I'll do them a bit. I'll get burned out. I won't go back for a while. But the stuff that affects every second you're in combat in some way, shape, or form, those are the things I'm like, delicious. I love that. Anything that just like more build craft, like, gets me so happy. That's my favorite thing. All right, Guild Wars 2 Soto introduced a new weapon proficiencies for every prof and separated relics from runes to deepen build crafting. The addition of Weapon Master Training was also a major step forward in allowing players to freely mix and match elite spec weapons across builds, and the addition of Land Spears offered a new weapon for every prof to use. With our next expansion, we're taking the next step. Elite specs are making a return. Oh, look, we all guessed it. This is the first time they've just flat out said it. This is confirmation that they've never given before. Yes, it's elite specs. All right, that excites me. We've been assuming until this point, and it was a very fair assumption, but it was an assumption. This time, designed to work together with the flexible build crafting system that we've been refining over the past few years. However, these new specs won't come with dedicated weapons. Again, this was something many people guessed. Let's keep reading, don't freak out. Instead, each one introduces unique profession mechanics, a new trait line, the utility skills, an elite skill, a healing skill, and distinct playstyles without locking you into a specific weapon or equipment loadout. Okay, so I'm going to just brainstorm here for a second. Many people know, like, Bladesworn. Bladesworn, they hit their F1, what are the F keys, and they draw their gun saber. It's another weapon, but it's not a new equipable weapon. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't know the Bladesworn actually gets offhand pistol. Did you know that? Almost nobody knows that. It's all about the gun saber. Firebrand can use their tomes and they pull another weapon out of their back pocket, and it replaces their 1 through 5, right? There's a lot of professions like that. They could easily, let's say that deck of cards, the gambler, whatever it is, they might have like F1 and then cards swirl around them, and their 1 through 5 might be like Jack, Queen, King, Ace, Joker. I don't know, and they might do different things related to card magic. There still might be weapons without weapons. I feel like that. I feel like Wreck-It Ralph, just because you're a bad guy does not mean you're a bad guy. That we might get weapons that are not weapons. You know what I mean? That might still be a thing, but at the very least, we're going to be getting something unique for each of these. Just like how Druid has Astroform and Untamed has moving the Untamed back and forth. We're getting that kind of thing in some way, shape, or form, but not weapons. Just call them kits. No. All right, these new specs are designed to feel fresh, fun, and unique to Guild Wars 2 while building on the systems you already know and love. We'll have much more to share soon. And someone's about to get stepped on. All right. Challenging the challengers. The launch of the Mount Balrior raid wasn't just a development milestone for us. With both Leggy and Challenge modes, it was a long-awaited return for players eager to take on high-end group content. It marked a turning point in our ongoing effort to revitalize endgame PvE. Over the past few years, we've focused on delivering meaningful, replayable encounters across raids and strike missions. Most recently, we've returned to our encounter design roots with Kinfall, a new fractal designed in direct response to player feedback. With Kinfall, we stepped back from the raid-like complexity of recent fractals and focused instead on creating streamlined, repeatable experience that captures the feel of the early favorites. The challenge mode arrived a few weeks later, offering both accessibility and satisfying difficulty. And honestly, I think they did a decent job. Like, if that was their goal, I think they reached it. In my opinion, Kinfall is a fractal that if I'm doing fractal dailies and it comes up, I am not feeling the desire to skip it. And I think that's the biggest thing. Now look, obviously, if you are a better player than me, or you're in an experienced squad, or you got a static group, you're probably not skipping any of them, right? And I've cleared all of them, but if I'm with a pug and Sunqua comes up and they're like, you want to do CM? I'm like, hey, I don't know if I know you guys well enough for that, But that's just me. Your experience may differ, and that's okay. But Kinfall is one where if it comes up, I'm just like, yeah, let's do it. So I think they did. I think they did a good job at what they were trying. What they were aiming for there. Okay. Looking ahead, we'll continue to expand end-game content, including new encounters complete with challenge and legendary modes. But just as important as adding more is making that content better, more approachable, and more rewarding to return to. In the first quarterly release of our next expansion, that means unifying raids and strike missions into a more consistent structure, improving onboarding for new players, reworking parts of the UI, streamlining rewards, and investing in systems that help group content feel easier to step into and more meaningful to stick with. We want Guild Wars 2's endgame to be something anyone can grow into, whether you're joining your first organized group or aiming to master every challenge we throw your way. All right, and then there is this little thing here. June, Guild Wars 2 Absolution, Dragon Bash Skills and Balance Update, Fractal Challenge Mode, Kinfall. July, Expansion Announcement, woo! Return to Secrets of the Obscure Event, World v World Rush Bonus Event. Okay, August, PvP Push Beta Event again, Festival of the Four Winds. All right, what comes next? Oh, we're almost there. Hold on, gotta hide it till we get there. Guild Wars 2 Janthir helped us learn where to push harder, where to simplify, how to better listen to the needs of our players. Your feedback didn't just resonate with us, it reshaped how we're thinking about the game and how we're building what's coming next. Mark your calendar, you'll get your first look at the next expansion, July 15th. That is this coming Tuesday. That is 1 week from today. Thanks again for your passion, your support, and your belief in this world and in the people that bring it to life. See you next week. Josh Davis, Game Director. And P.S. Thanks for reading this far. Here's another teaser for your troubles. Paragons and Ritualists! Ah! I can finally say it. Oh my god. All right, what are we looking at here, chat? We are looking at what appears to be the guy who is in every piece of art for the warrior classes. Remember, like the Spellbreaker art? He had the 2 daggers and stuff like that. And he appears to be a Paragon. And that's yellow, so that's looking warrior. And the Asura with the green magic that is probably the Necromancer guy. You know, like he's the one that he's like in the Reaper art, and he's like this. And he appears to be a Ritualist. 2 of the, I would say 2 of the 3, because the last one's Dervish. I would say 2 of the 3 most requested things from Guild Wars 1 appear to finally be coming to Guild Wars 2, which is Paragon and Ritualist. There's 4. Yeah, another one, for example, was Dervish. I don't know. Maybe someone will get Dervish. I have no idea. Dervish was another one. Monk. Monk is kind of baked into Guardian, but it's not the same. But yeah, there's a lot. So, yeah, there was, let's see, Paragon. All right. Chat can help me out with this. I had the only Guild Wars 1 piece of content I haven't played is Nightfall, which is where the Paragon, I believe Paragon was added in Nightfall. I'd have to double check. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. It's okay. I haven't played Paragon in Guild Wars 1. I have played Ritualist Guild Wars 1, so I know more about this. Paragon and Dervish were Nightfall. Thank you. So that means Assassin and Ritualist were factions. So Paragon, I haven't played. I know a little bit about it. They're often associated with, I think, like the Sun Spears. They will have like a spear and a shield. Their faces are their face mask of their helmets is usually open on the front because they do a lot of shout abilities. They scream at their teammates, get better, and you're crying, but it works. The Ritualist, I can speak a little bit more on that. They would have, they're Spartan coded, yeah. The Ritualist, they would obviously do various rituals. Some of them would summon spirits, and the spirits would often look like a ghost chained to the ground. It's like they were not willing participants in this. But the ghosts would have different things. An example is a DPS Ritualist might summon a whole bunch of like ghosts that are chained to the ground, and they were like turrets. Like a totem from other games. But they would like fire projectiles at enemies, and they were just guns, basically. Then there was Support Ritualist, and a Support Ritualist might summon a spirit, and the spirit would say something like, half of any damage received by your party is diverted to this ghost until the ghost dies. So he'd be like, he would summon a damage sponge, and then focus on like healing and supporting the group. They would also have other tools, such as, Vindicators, you know, the urn, your ultimate, that's from Ritualist. Ritualists would have different urns with ashes of famous heroes that they could summon into their hands, and while they were carrying it, it would like emit certain buffs to the party. And then when they were done, they would just bash it on the ground. Forget that guy, he wasn't that important. And it would, you know, basically you would give up your ability to attack, your 1 through 5, in order to carry around this buff thing that buffs the party until you put it down. They also had weapon enchants. Yes, they had weapon enchants as well. They could put different enchantments on the party. Like they could basically lock out half of their mana regen to focus energy onto the weapons of their teammates and give them buffs in various ways, shapes, and forms. So all of that was, you know, different stuff with the Ritualist. I for one, as a pet class and support enjoyer, I really enjoyed it because, again, there was a support build. It was an alternative to the monk as a healer in Guild Wars 1, but also you could play it as a DPS and a pretty good solo class as well. There was many videos of people that were way further in the game than I was that got to like the endgame farming, and they would just summon like 20 spirits, and they'd be like, I cast gun, prepare to meet God, and then the thing would just get filled with ghost bullets and it would be over. It was a very cool class. I dabbled in it a lot with a lot of my characters in GW1. Once Loranity sets up the next Return to Guild Wars factions, going to definitely do something with Ritualists. But it is important. Yeah, you're sharing too much. Yeah, okay. It's important to say that, what did they say they were adding? They said a new trait line, a heal skill, the utilities. There'll be 4 utility buttons, and 1 elite. So everything I've said is way too much for all that. Now, how are they going to do that? They might, let's just, speculating here, they might have a utility that summons a ghost, and maybe there will be like a trait line that, depending on the trait you take, it's an offensive ghost or a defensive ghost. It could be something like that. Just kind of like how the Mechanist has traits that make the mech go from being like a support barrier mech to an offensive punch mech to an offensive gun mech to an offensive stab mech. You know, like all of those are different, you know, things where the traits change the thing you already have. They could do something like that. I don't know. I would say if they were going to, you know, they get rid of anything. I mean, what could they do? They could have one button that's kind of like a kit, like an engineer kit, but it has like access to the urns, because, you know, that would replace what's in your hands. That would kind of go hand in hand with the original gameplay. I would say the elite skill. I mean, I've already mentioned my love for supports and pet builds. My favorite elite skill in Guild Wars 1 with the Ritualist was the one that just summoned 3 ghosts at once. You had a bunch of buttons that summoned 1 ghost at a time, and they had one elite skill, I forget the name, Chad will say it in a second, that just summoned like a whole pile of them. It was a long cooldown, and it was just like, let's just start the fight with the whole band. And it would draw all of them out at once. That was my favorite one. They had others, of course, but that was my favorite. It was called Signet of Spirits. There you go. So those are the kind of things that we can expect to see. But, you know, this is hundreds of years later. We'll see how it turns out. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. Dude, I'm really excited. This freaking art, the whole article was nice, and then this is just, like freaking out just looking at this one picture. It's so good. Long cooldown doesn't apply to Guild Wars. Yeah, when I say long cooldown, I mean like maybe 60 seconds as opposed to 20, you know, stuff like that. That's a Yoda Asura. Yeah. All right. Well, that is what we've got for today. Super excited. I am anticipating another teaser of another class tomorrow. And another thing, we've gotten 5 artworks of different pictures, right? We got the banjo, we got the winged helmet, we got the thing that looks like an orb with 2 swirlies around it, a deck of cards, and a thing that could be a jaw or a shield. Do you think any of those icons match either of these? Could this guy be the winged helmet, or was that something else entirely? That's the next thing to think about, chat. Have we already seen these amidst the pictures, or are these 2 pictures that we haven't seen yet, which means the pictures we've already seen would either be not Necro or not Warrior? That's something to think about. So that's it for today. As always, the links to the sources will be down below. Don't you hate it when YouTubers don't link their sources? And I'll fight you in the comment section.